Critical congenital heart defects is the topic I chose to write about in week one of this 8-week course, and I've really enjoyed learning about it. A critical congenital heart defect is obviously something you're born with. It causes a variety of conditions, and death will occur in an infant if treatment is not provided right away. The problem with the critical congenital heart defects is they're not inherited. There's no way to test for them uh, genetically before a baby is born. There's only a few ways to detect if an unborn infant, has a critical congenital heart defect, and sometimes that doesn't work, and that is just simply through ultrasound and randomly catching it. There is absolutely no familial links. Molecular causes of critical heart defects is possibly it's unknown why this disease happens, but there is thought that it's an environmental or genetic factor, a mixture of the two. And the environmental part is, where does the mother live? She live in an area that has pesticides, acid mines or something like that. Does she smoke? Does she drink alcoholic drinks when she's pregnant? Does she do any kind of illegal substances? And the problem is that only accounts for maybe 30% of the cases of infants born with critical congenital heart defects. And the other 70% are just by random chance, a very unlucky random chance. There are some, but when they look at it, there are some variations that cause a deletion in the DNA to occur. Again, they don't know why this happens. And some of the variations are due to extra copies of certain genes. But either way, either cause, it involves the reduced amount of proteins that cause these structures to form in the womb. For genetic testing, there is only a handful of genetic testing that can be done for this, and this is almost always done after the surgery has happened, just for the sake of learning what genes have caused the issue to take place. And those types are the targeted variant analysis, a detection of homozygosity, mutation scanning of the entire coding region, deletion and duplication analysis. As I said on the last slide, sometimes it's just the deletion or the addition of genetic code. Again, this always happens after surgery or post mortem, just to find out what genetic reasons for this to have happened. The different types of congenital heart defects that are brought about from these genetic mutations: one to be the coarctation of the aorta, double outlet right ventricle, Epstein anomaly, hypoplastic left heart syndrome, interrupted aortic arch, and tricuspid atresia. Main genes that are mutated or affected during the growth of the infant is the GJA1 gene, the JAG1 gene, the MED13L gene, or the Notch1 gene. All four of these genes are responsible for making the proteins that form the different areas of the heart. And again, since this is not an inherited uh, chromosomal defect, no one really knows why these four genes do this. There's no rhyme or reason to it, it just happens. Coarctation of the aorta is simply the pitching off of the aorta in layman's terms. As you can see in the picture here, right where the aorta swoops over and goes down, and goes into a descending mode, it literally just, the tissues simply do not form properly, and it causes a very tight stricture right there. The success rate of the surgery is about 80%. And it does take quite a while. And the best repair is a resection with the end-to-end anastomosis when possible, or they just do a bypass with a graft repair. The double outlet right ventricle, as you can also see in the picture here, it's just simply missing the divider between the right and left ventricles, so blood has no stoppage there. So the best way to fix this is simply to widen the aorta to allow more blood flow. And sometimes they'll even uh, move it through the lungs to slow it down if there's the aorta is unable to be repaired there. The Epstein anomaly actually affects the tricuspid valve of the heart, and what that does is it kind of makes the heart bleed backwards into the right atrium again, and it just causes little holes in the heart. Sometimes the surgery's not even recommended. Some people can live their entire life with this. This is one of the, if you have a congenital defect of the heart, this is the one you want. And then the interrupted aortic arch is exactly what it sounds like. Right there, the aortic arch, where it appears that quite a few of these congenital heart defects actually happen. It literally is just blocked off. It's just, there's nothing, it just doesn't make that full swoop. And so what they do is they simply, as you can see here, they, resection with an end-to-end anastomosis again is the best way to go. And if it's just so severe, they'll try to completely bypass the aorta through the lungs. Because the pulmonary arteries and veins can handle the flow. The occurrence of critical congenital heart defects is actually very low, and that's a good thing. But it does account for 30% of infant deaths per year. It used to be a much lower number, but due to medical advancements in birth and things of that nature, the babies are just surviving at a better rate now. And so, as you see here, 18 out of 10,000 will have this. There's only one real good way to detect a congenital heart defect like this is through pulse oximetry or an ultrasound if they feel that something is wrong. And what they're looking for when they do the pulse oximetry is anything less than 70% of blood O2 levels. And the screening for critical congenital heart defects is, like I said, the pulse oximetry upon the birth. And the reason that is it's not inherited. You can't look at the family history and say, oh my God, they might have this. It just doesn't work that way for this. So, and also the genetic tests that are done for it aren't really reliable at all. And sometimes, uh, for like Epstein anomaly, which is the one that typically can go unannounced, it just, the baby will be completely undetected of it until after it goes home, and all of a sudden its lips turn blue. Then the mom and dad have to rush the baby back to the hospital, and then they'll finally detect it. Now, the cost of the screening can range between $20 and $30, which is not very expensive. Again, it's just a pulse oximetry test. Hospitals today have just included it into the screening of an infant that has just been born. And the moment the baby's born, they put a pulse oximetry on its hand for a quick minute, and they check it, and that's the end of it. The cost of not doing something like that could actually result in the death of your baby. And that is my interpretation on a critical congenital heart defect. Thank you for a great semester, Professor Karen Stencil.